And I think you should create an organization of CalTrainiacs so we can get the public engaged in making sure that CalTrain is here for our future. I'm proud to say that I took CalTrain this morning from Burlingame. It was smooth. There were no problems. And there were many of you that were on that CalTrain. How many of you were on that CalTrain this morning? See? True believers. That's great. You've got a real challenge here this morning, but I really believe you're up to it. And I want to say at the very beginning, as I will say through my comments, that I am with you all the way. Eureka, thank you for your incredible leadership. Sean, thank you for your leadership, both on the board and in San Francisco. You bring sanity to the process, and we're very grateful to you. To all the board members who are here, thank you for your leadership. This is not an easy task, but we don't engage in this process because it's easy. We engage in this process because there are problems to be solved. And that's what this is really all about today. The collapse of CalTrain would doom drivers up and down 101's corridor to more stop and go in a region where get up and go has been our hallmark. Now imagine a biotechnology researcher sitting in traffic rather than riding a train. Instead of using her laptop to model the next molecule that will help treat Parkinson's, this scientist is poking along on 101 or 280 in her Prius, trying to get to work so that she can start the day where her knowledge will help to employ thousands and help to save lives of tens of thousands. Or imagine the employee who's trying to get to work at a construction site. He's not going to take CalTrain to that job site probably, but he's also not going to get to the job on time if CalTrain collapses and traffic on El Camino or 101 or 280 is backed up for miles. Do you want to know why a child has an investment in CalTrain's success? That child will be here long after any of us. 40,000 daily CalTrain translates into about 20,000 cars on Highway 101 and 280. Putting those cars onto the freeway will obviously create more greenhouse gases. What we do today with CalTrain, and eventually it has to be electrified, will mold the world long after all of us have ridden our last train to Knoxville or Paradise. We owe it to our kids to preserve and to grow this transit system. And that's the message that, frankly, we need to get out to the public. It's going to be a multi-stage job. The first stage, unfortunately, is likely to be a reduction of service, because oftentimes we don't know what we have until it starts to shrink. And the loss of service is getting everyone's attention. All of a sudden, it's waked up the powerful Silicon Valley. Wait a minute, you're reducing service and our employees aren't going to be able to get to work? But the second stage is to educate the public. So let's talk about education. It's been said that CalTrain isn't a core service for the other three agencies. Well, that's technically true. However, the annual ridership is probably greater than the ridership on some of our bus and trolley lines. Why is the person who rides CalTrain of less importance than the person who rides a bus? Why is that? Well, the answer is she isn't. She's just less powerful because her vote and those of her fellow riders are spread across 3 counties. So let's talk about the great success story of CalTrain. Its fare box represents 47% of the operating cost. It's far greater in its fare box recovery than virtually any other rail system in the country. In fact, many of them are as low as 10%, and they're still operating. The administrative cost of CalTrain is 6%, whereas many rail systems across the country are as high as 17%. The actual cost per vehicle mile operation is about $12 on CalTrain, $12.62 to be exact. And it's as high in Virginia, for instance, as $27 per mile of operating expense. So we have a good news story here. CalTrain works. CalTrain is very effective at keeping its administrative costs down. Its recovery at the fare box is higher than virtually any rail system in the country. And with all of that good news, we're shrinking the service? That doesn't make a lot of sense. It's important to say that train riders count too. Now, I'm not here this morning to pump you up with words of optimism. I don't have an easy answer because, frankly, easy answers don't exist. I think eventually we are going to have to come up with a dedicated tax for CalTrain. And let me say here and now that you can count me front and center in front of every city council and board of supervisors in this region to make the case for it. Count me as one of your supporters. But as I said to the Silicon Valley Leadership Forum, the public isn't going to vote for new taxes, and businesses aren't going to support new taxes or fees on their operations until they see changes in the way buses, trains, subways, and trolley services are operated in the 3 counties. All these come at a time when the partner agencies are themselves struggling and making cuts to service. Funding new economies is an enormous challenge. But I actually believe that this volunteer agency, the Friends of CalTrain, is in a position to truly make a significant difference. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I think there's a great deal of talent in this room. I think if you put on your green eye shades and start looking at the budgets of all of these agencies and make it your core responsibility to look at economies of scale, ways to shave the costs, and take them to these member agencies and say, here are some savings, and help promote these savings, it can go a long way to creating in the public the sense of confidence that these systems are running appropriately and with efficiency. So think of yourselves as mini general accounting offices. While there may not be much money available, there has to be some because the public will see these economies and the shifting of resources as a signal that these public agencies are serious about CalTrain. If the agencies are serious, the public is more likely to agree to CalTrain funding. You know, the interesting thing is, even if you don't ride CalTrain, you want it there because you never know when you might need it. It's one of those benefits that it's that lifesaver. Whenever there's a crisis or there's a problem with gas prices skyrocketing, whatever it is, CalTrain becomes the answer. And I'll tell you a personal story. A friend of mine's daughter is now going to Santa Clara's law school. So she's spending 3 nights a week at our house. And when she started just a few weeks ago, she started driving her car to school, and it took her an hour and a half. So she immediately changed to becoming a CalTrain rider to make that trek every day. She's got the time on the train to do her studies, and it goes a long way to taking a car off the road, getting her there faster, and giving her the opportunity to study as well. So there's lots of those stories. And we just have to get the word out about them so that, in fact, we can be successful in this effort. And I hope that each of you recognize the to become not just an advocate, but a solution-oriented leader of how we retain CalTrain for the future. Let me say that in the end, we can do this. Let's get to work. There's a vision to create and a train to catch. Thank you.